Hi, and welcome to episode 3 of our multiplayer chat series. In our last episode, we worked on persisting all the chat messages and chat channels to the game state. In this episode, we will implement the player controller side of things, which will allow the HUD widgets and the game state to talk to each other. So let's go ahead and get started. And as always, I will try to keep the video below 30 minutes. We need a new player controller. I don't have one yet in this third person starter project, so let's go ahead and do new blueprint class, player controller, and I'll call it BP player controller. Don't forget to update your game mode if you haven't already, and I'll change that to BP player controller. And let's open up the player controller. First thing is first, implement the interface chat system channel listener, and let's really quick go to our game state, and we will add a function called get chat system, and it will return a chat system interface instance. So this is kind of a helper function, so looking down the road, you might need to. We're going to cast this to a BPI chat system. Looking down the road, you might change your chat system from being, let's say, implemented by the game state to being implemented by some other actor. So what this function will do is our player controller will call this function to get an instance of BPI chat system. That way our function in the player controller doesn't need to know whether it should cast the game state to the BPI chat system that it implements. So later down the road we can change the implementation or who implements the BPI chat system, and we won't have to make any updates to the player controller. We just need to update this one method to return the new actor. So let's, if it fails, we'll just return nothing, just like that. Compile that, go to our player controller, and our event graph. Create a new event graph called chat. We'll call it chat, otherwise we'll have a name clash here in a second. So we need to create 3 custom events called bootstrap all, and create one more called bootstrap authority, and create a third one, bootstrap client. Add the begin play event, add a sequence, add 3 pins, and the sequence that these events are going to be called will be important. First, we want to bootstrap all. That will initialize any variables used by the authority and the client. Next, we will bootstrap authority, and finally we will bootstrap the client. This is my preference as far as how to initialize the player controller. In fact, what we could do is change bootstrap client to run on owning client reliable, and instead of it being in the sequence, the bootstrap authority will run bootstrap client when bootstrap authority is done. So the nice thing about this is everything bootstraps right here. This can be, this will be run on both client and authority, and then we bootstrap the authority, and because usually the client may depend on variables that are replicated to be configured by the authority, it just allows us to only bootstrap the client after the authority is done with its work. So in bootstrap all, what we're going to do is get game state, and cast to BP game state. My personal preference, as you probably already noticed, is using an interface. I would much rather use a interface called BPI game state that implements our new method, but for now I will leave it at this, what I have right now. And then call get chat system, right click, promote to variable, and call it chat system. Okay. It's worth noting that this bootstrap all, it could be called first on the local player controller and then the authority, because there's nothing that guarantees that it's called on the authority first and then the local player controller machine. But you can easily control that with, something like this, where in bootstrap authority we call it, and then when bootstrap client is called, we call this first. But it's not something that we need right now, so I'm not going to go into any details on it. So in bootstrap client, we need to check is local player controller, just for extra protection, because what we're going to do is we will create our HUD widgets and add them to the UI. So do a create widget call and specify our chat box, just like that, and get a reference to self. And then what we're going to do with this, let me just double check. We need to promote to variable and call it WP or WB chat box. Make it private. Category, just create chat system category. Same with the chat system variable. Make it private and add it to the chat system. 9 of these should be replicated. And then add to viewport right there. And then we'll come back to this. Executes on machines that have a local player controller. Okay, on the bootstrap authority, executes on authority machine. Let me find my reference. Okay, we need to switch has authority, and if it does, we need to grab our chat system, get it, and call watch chat channel interface call and self, and leave channel set to the default option of global. So what this does, when the player controller is spawned in the world, in other words when the player joins the game, the default chat channel that they watch will be global. And that's because the default channel that the HUD displays or will display will be global, and you can change that. Let's see. So let's go ahead and go to our chat event graph. So in our event graph, let me refer to my notes really quick. Let's create a custom event called on chat send message and a single input of message, and the structure type would be message, S channel message. Okay, create another custom event, and we'll call this on chat channel changed. I believe that's what I called it. Yep, on chat channel changed, and a channel input of type channel, like that. And really quick, we will flop back to our event graph over here, and in our bootstrap client, bring this out and down. We will get our WB chat box, get it, and bind to on channel changed. drag off our event, say event dispatcher create event, and select our on chat channel change. If you do not see your event in this list, it means that the signature of your event does not match the signature of this event that the HUD triggers. So make sure that you have a parameter of type eChatSystemChannels. It doesn't care about the name of the parameter, just the type and how many parameters in the order. Okay, basically copy that, paste it, except we don't need that call. Instead we call bind on send message, connect it like that, and on chat send message, connect it up here. Okay, quick check, verification that everything is right, and we're looking pretty good. Bootstrap always, we have all that set up. Okay, let's compile that and go to our chat. Go to the chat graph in the player controller and bring these down and separate them. Add a new custom event, and we'll call this send chat, chat message to server. It should be run on server, and it should take a message parameter. We'll open this up a little bit. Message s channel message, and drag off this and call send chat message to server. Call function, replicate to server, connect up the message, and then for the server version we will drag the chat system, get it, and call send chat message interface call. Connect up the message parameters, execution pins, and comment this send chat message. Compile, save. The next thing we need to do, let's see, create a new custom event and call it push channel messages to client. Run on owning client. It doesn't have to be reliable, and it should have two parameters: a channel parameter of type eChatSystemChannels, a messages parameter of type channel messages array, and let's see, we'll put a breakpoint there for later. And then what we need to do is we need to implement on chat channel updated, which is an event provided through our channel listener interface our player controller now implements. Ignore this note. I don't know what it wants, but everything works even with that note there. Connect up these pins and comment this push channel messages to client. So when the game state receives a new message, any channel, it calls this function, which will call this event, and this event will execute on the client, and it'll have the channel and the array of messages for the channel that we were watching that received updates. Okay, now if we focus our attention to this on chat channel changed, this event is called when you click one of the channel buttons in the Chat Box HUD, for example, global or trade or local. So when this event is fired, we need to replicate it to the server. So let's go ahead and create a new custom event and call it send watch channel to server. Run on server, it doesn't have to be reliable. And call, we need to add the input channel And it should be of type enum chat system channel, not an array. And then call send watch to server, connect up the channel like that. And now we get to fill in this. So drag the chat system, get it, and call watch chat channel interface call. Connect up the execution pins, add a reroute node, add one more reroute node for later, just like that. And then get a reference to self for the player controller like that. Bring that out. And then we need to get chat system again, so copy it, paste it, and call get chat channel messages interface call. Connect up the channel like that. Execution pins, just like that. So this is going to be register for channel updates, and then we need to call push channel messages to client. Pass along the messages, grab this, add a reroute, connect it there, and get existing messages for this channel. We are now watching. Watch chat channel for updates. So when you click a channel button in the chat box will dispatch an event. The player controller listens for that event and execute its own event, which then basically proxies the selected channel to the server, so we can register ourselves as a watcher for that channel, and then we get the existing chat messages that's in that channel we are now watching, and we push it to the client so the client can display the messages for that channel. We have to finish this, and to finish this we need to go back to our chat box. First we need to fix this. I overlooked this in video 1. Change this to local, change this to trade, compile and save. And then we need to add a new event, custom event, and call it set channel messages, and it takes 2 inputs. One is channel of type channel chat system channel enum, and the other is messages of type channel message array. And then let's see, we need to get the current channel, and we need to compare it to the channel passed in, just like that. Add a branch. So if our current channel that we have selected in the chat box is equal to the channel that is being pushed into the chat box from the server, the channel updated messages. So if the messages here are in the channel that we currently have selected in our chat box, then we need to clear clear channel messages event, which is in our widget here, right there, clear channel messages. We need to call that to remove the existing messages. We need to grab our messages array, add a reroute node like that, and then for each loop. So for each message we need to create a widget, and the class type should be our chat box message widget that we created long ago, and get owning player like that. The array element here, connect that up like that. Connect up the loop body. Okay. And then we need to grab our channel messages node and add child to vertical box. Connect these up like that. And there we go. So let me just double check really quick that I have everything. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to grab our WB chat box here, get it, and call set channel messages, and connect up all of these nodes, execution nodes, input nodes. Done. And let's run a dedicated, and I'll do 3 players. And one last pass to make sure I've got everything connected up. Okay. The other thing that I'll do to make testing a little bit easier, because the let me show you. Oh, let me. I'm gonna change this, and I'll move this back here. See if that works. There it is. That was the only. I didn't have that change in my last project, so there's probably a bug with it. So you see how the mouse went away? That's because of the third person starter project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a tab keyboard event, and when it's released, I'm going to get show mouse cursor. I'm going to negate it and invert its value. If it's true, it'll be false. After this, if it's false, it'll be true. And then I'm going to call set show mouse cursor and plug this in. So basically, if we release tab, if we press tab, we will toggle the mouse cursor. So at least that way the mouse won't get locked. So now the mouse is locked. I'll press tab and we can have it so we can click in our UI. So I'm gonna send, and that's our breakpoint. I'll take that out. Resume, and let me pull up the other viewport so you can see. We can see the text, although it's black and it's small, so it's kind of hard to see. But if I go to trade, the messages clear out. I'll send a message here. I can see my own message that I sent to the trade, but it wasn't added to global. So I'll do this just to make things a little bit easier. I'll type in global, send, and we see global is now in the global channel. It's not in the trade channel, it is not in the local, it is in the global. So I'll go to local and type in local, and it's there. It is nowhere else. So that is episode 3, which is tying everything up and finishing the basic system. In our next episode, I'm not sure what we're going to work on next. I will probably make some UI adjustments. You can play around with your UI and change the font colors and font sizes and make it a little bit bigger and nicer or easier to read. In our next episode, I'm not sure what we're going to be doing yet. It'll be something fun. Perhaps we'll work on local chat. So, for example, if I'm over here and I say something, you have to be in my same region. So if you're on the other side of this little box map, you won't see what I say in the local chat. So yeah, like, subscribe, and give me your feedback. And until next time, see ya.